My name is Riley Hayes, and for 35 years my childhood has been a black void, repressed memories buried under layers of PTSD and anxiety. My mother, a narcissistic whirlwind who saw me as a burden, and my father, her enabler, made my early years a blur of survival I couldn't recall. When fragments surfaced during therapy, I uncovered a secret that shattered my family's facade, a plot to control my best friend's daughter Mia and her inheritance. This is the story of how I healed from a childhood I don't remember, a journey that led me to fight for Mia, building a new family from the fragments of the one that never truly cared. The Black Void. I grew up in a quaint bungalow in Portland's Hawthorne district, where the rain pattered endlessly and my family's dysfunction hid behind a facade of quirky charm. My mother, Vivian, was a force, beautiful, manipulative, a bookstore owner who sold stories but lived a lie. My father, Harold, was her quiet accomplice, a librarian who collected books but ignored the chaos at home. They presented a bohemian front to the world, but behind closed doors my childhood was a black void, repressed memories I couldn't access, only feeling their shadows in my PTSD and anxiety. From what I could recall, or rather what therapy had unearthed, I was the problem child. My mother saw me as a disappointment, too sensitive, too questioning, too different. When I came out as genderqueer at 17, she dismissed it as a trend, saying, "Don't make this about you. Your sister needs stability." My sister Clara was her golden girl, obedient, feminine, the child she doted on. Clara got the praise, the gifts, the freedom. I got the criticism, the chores, the silence. Survival meant blocking it out. School was my refuge. I joined the psychology club, volunteered at a local shelter, and buried myself in books about memory and trauma. I wasn't Clara's kind of star, but I was resilient. I won a state psychology award and earned a scholarship to Reed College. When I told my parents, hoping for a spark of pride, my mother said, "That's nice, Jordan. Clara's starting ballet classes. That's our priority." My father nodded vaguely. I left for college with a journal and a vow to uncover the truths I couldn't remember. The fragments emerge. Reed College was my awakening. I was Jordan, not Vivian's disappointment, not Clara's shadow. I majored in psychology, interned at a trauma clinic, and found a community that embraced my genderqueer identity. I started therapy with hypnotherapy, unearthing fragments. My mother's rages, my father's indifference, Clara's favored status. I realized the void was self-preservation, a child's way to survive unloved. I graduated with honors and landed a job as a memory therapist in Portland, helping clients recover repressed memories through hypnotherapy. My practice was a cozy office in the Pearl District, filled with calming art and soft lighting, a space where I could heal others while piecing together my own past. Clara, meanwhile, coasted. She dropped out of community college, lived off my parents' money, and bounced between bad jobs. They bailed her out every time, paying her rent, covering her debts, bragging about her creative spirit. When I visited home, they'd talk endlessly about Clara's potential, ignoring my work helping trauma survivors. It stung, but I'd built a life where their approval wasn't the goal. The fragments sharpened when I was 32, during a family dinner at our Victorian home. Vivian was there, still glamorous, charming the neighbors she'd invited. My best friend Nina's daughter, Mia, was there too. Nina, the only person who'd ever seen through Vivian's facade, had died 3 years earlier in a car accident. Her ex-husband, Greg, had custody of Mia, but he was unreliable, often ghosting my texts. I'd tried to stay in Mia's life, sending books and calling when I could, but Greg made it hard. At the dinner, Vivian was her usual dazzling self, leading conversations and posing for selfies with Clara. But Mia was quiet, her blue eyes fixed on her plate, her hands fidgeting with a locket Nina had given her. I noticed a bruise on her wrist, faint but unmistakable. When I asked her about it, she whispered, "I fell." Vivian quickly changed the subject, pulling Mia into a group photo, but my therapist instincts screamed that something was wrong. Refusing the void. Later that evening, I took Mia to the backyard, where the Portland skyline glittered against the night sky. The air smelled of magnolia and earth, a rare clear evening. Mia, I said, crouching to her level. Is everything okay with Greg? She hesitated, her fingers twisting her locket's chain. He's always mad, she whispered. Vivian visits sometimes, says she's helping, but she's just ignores me or takes my stuff, like Mom's locket. My heart stopped. Vivian was involved with Mia's care? And taking Nina's heirlooms? That night I couldn't sleep, my mind racing with Mia's words and Vivian's locket. I'd noticed other signs, Vivian's new jewelry, her boasts about investments. Was she stealing from Mia's inheritance? The next morning I confronted her in her office, a cozy room of books and candles that smelled of lavender and dust. My father was there, reading a community newsletter, his presence a silent buffer. "Why are you staying with Greg?" I demanded, holding up a photo of Mia's bruise. Vivian's smile faltered, her eyes narrowing. "I'm just helping out," she said, her voice tight. "Don't start drama, Jordan," my father muttered, not looking up. But I pressed, my voice rising. "What about Nina's locket? Mia said it's gone and I saw you wearing it." Vivian's face hardened. "You're imagining things," she snapped. "I'm managing Mia's trust, that's all." My father sighed. "Let it go, Jordan." But I didn't. "Managing her trust?" I said, my heart pounding. "Greg's a mess, Mia's bruised, and you're dripping in jewelry. What's really going on?" Vivian's composure cracked, and she let slip the truth. Greg was an addict, and she'd been supervising Mia, funded by my parents. She'd also taken control of Mia's trust, a hefty inheritance Nina had left, claiming it needed proper oversight. The locket, she admitted, was borrowed as a keepsake. I stared at her, my hands trembling. Vivian had been the source of my repressed memories, her rages, her favoritism, her lack of love. But now she was using Mia to secure her ego. The childhood I couldn't remember was a void of survival, and I refused to let Mia endure the same. I walked out vowing to protect her, taking a stand. That night I called Child Protective Services, CPS, reporting suspected neglect. The caseworker, Aisha, interviewed Mia and confirmed my fears. Greg's addiction had worsened, and Vivian was barely present, often leaving Mia alone or dismissing her needs. CPS placed Mia in temporary foster care, and I filed for emergency custody. As a memory therapist, I'd helped clients recover their pasts, but this was personal. I knew the system's flaws, overworked caseworkers, biased courts, but I couldn't let Mia stay in that environment. I also hired a lawyer to investigate Mia's trust. Vivian was furious, calling me to scream, "You're trying to ruin my life! I'm her guardian, not you!" Her words triggered a panic attack, the PTSD flaring, but Dr. Lee helped me stay grounded. She'd been the golden child, but now she was stealing from a child. I refused to let her win. I threw myself into the custody battle, using my therapeutic skills to build a case. I documented everything. Photos of Greg's apartment, texts from Vivian dismissing Mia's pleas, medical reports noting her bruises. I was fighting for Mia, but also for the child I'd been, the one whose memories were buried to survive. My parents took Vivian's side, as always. They called me ungrateful, accused me of jealousy. "Vivian's doing what's best for Mia," my father said. "You've always been difficult, Jordan." They cut me off, but I didn't care. Mia was my priority now. The courtroom battle. The custody battle was brutal. Greg, backed by my parents' money, hired a high-priced lawyer who painted me as an unstable therapist with no parenting experience. Vivian testified that she'd been selflessly caring for Mia, claiming I was driven by spite. My parents took the stand, saying I'd always been rebellious and unstable, twisting my PTSD into evidence of unfitness. I fought back with evidence, photos of Greg's apartment, CPS reports, texts from Vivian telling Mia to stop whining. I called character witnesses, my clinic director who praised my integrity, my therapist who testified to my recovery, and Nina's sister who confirmed Nina would have wanted me to protect Mia. Most importantly, I had Mia's voice. In a closed session, she described Greg's rages and Vivian's neglect, her voice trembling but clear. Her drawings, dark sketches of a house filled with yelling, broke my heart and swayed the judge. The turning point came when I uncovered Vivian's financial motive. Using my lawyer's forensic accountant, I found bank records showing Vivian had siphoned funds from Mia's trust for expenses. Her social media showed luxury handbags, designer coats, and trips to San Francisco paid for with Mia's money. When I presented this in court, Vivian's charm cracked. She stammered, claiming it was temporary borrowing, but the judge wasn't convinced. The trust battle was equally fierce. My lawyer proved Vivian's mismanagement, and the court froze the trust, appointing me as temporary trustee. The judge granted me temporary custody, with a plan for permanent guardianship if Greg and Vivian didn't meet CPS requirements. Mia moved into my Pearl District apartment, and for the first time I saw her smile, a real, unguarded smile. Building a home. Life with Mia was a gift. I turned my spare room into a space for her, with art supplies, a cozy bed, and glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. She was wary at first, scared to trust, but we built a routine. School, therapy, memory workshops. Mia loved journaling, her entries filling notebooks with stories of her mom. My PTSD and anxiety flared, panic attacks at night, fears of failing her. But Dr. Lee helped me stay grounded. I kept my job, running hypnotherapy sessions for trauma survivors. My colleagues became my support system, helping with Mia's school pickups when I was at sessions. Vivian and Greg faded from our lives. Greg failed his sobriety tests, and Vivian lost interest in the parenting classes. My parents faced legal scrutiny for enabling Vivian's theft, their reputation tarnished. They tried to guilt me into reconciling, but I set boundaries, refusing to let their toxicity back in. The long road to healing. Over the years, Mia thrived. She won school writing contests, her stories reflecting hope and resilience. We built traditions: Friday movie nights, Saturday hikes in Forest Park, holiday journaling sessions where memories flowed free. One day she called me Jordan, then paused and said, "You're my family." I hugged her tight, my heart full. My career soared. I opened a trauma recovery clinic, offering hypnotherapy for repressed memories, and won a national award for my work. I started a podcast about healing from forgotten childhoods, connecting with listeners who'd faced similar voids. My chosen family, friends, colleagues, Mia's teachers, became my anchor. My parents softened, sending emails, but I kept my distance. Vivian moved to San Diego, chasing another scheme, and I let her go. A new memory. At Mia's high school writing festival, I watched her read a story about rediscovering lost memories, her voice strong and clear. She dedicated it to me, saying, "Jordan showed me how to remember and heal." I hugged her, tears in my eyes, knowing I'd given her the safety I'd never had. Healing from a childhood I don't remember meant uncovering the void and filling it with love. I'm Jordan Hayes, therapist, guardian, survivor, and I've built a family that remembers and cherishes every moment.